Hello and welcome to Newsfeed, your daily dose of what people are talking about online, from news stories to what's trending. A prominent aide at Buckingham Palace has resigned after she repeatedly asked a black British woman where she was really from. Ngozi Fulani, the founder of charity Sister Space, was at an event at the palace on Tuesday when Lady Susan Hussey questioned her on her background. Lady Susan had even moved Ngozi's hair to see her name badge. Here's Ngozi's recollection of what was said, voiced by some of our producers.
Where are you from?
Sister Space.
No, where do you come from?
We're based in Hackney.
No, what part of Africa are you from?
I don't know, they didn't leave any records.
Well, you must know where you're from. I mean, I spend time in France. Where are you from?
Here, the UK.
No, but what nationality are you?
I am born here and am British.
No, but where do you really come from? Where do your people come from?
My people? Lady, what is this?
Oh, I can see I'm going to have a challenge getting you to say where you're from. When did you first come here?
Lady, I am a British national. My parents came here in the 50s when...
Oh, I knew we'd get there in the end. You're Caribbean.
No, lady, I am of African heritage, Caribbean descent and British nationality.
Oh, so you're from...
That's just appalling, right? And Lady Susan isn't just any palace aide, she's Prince William's godmother. And she was one of the late Queen Elizabeth's most loyal ladies-in-waiting, serving the monarch for 6 decades. Lady Susan was even depicted on this season of The Crown. She's the wife of late BBC chairman Baron Marmaduke Hussey. Lady Susan and the palace itself have apologized for the offensive incident, but some who witnessed the incident say it shows institutionalized racism within Buckingham Palace.
We arrived at the reception and were ushered into the main room where the reception was taking place. Myself, Ngozi, and another campaigner were standing together, 3 of us, black women. We were approached by a member of the royal household who came over, began the usual small talk. Very quickly, she zoomed in on Ngozi and asked her where she was from. Ngozi said she was from Sister Space, which is the organization she leads. But what followed was almost an interrogation. There was question after question about where she was really from, where her people came from, what her nationality was. And Ngozi said, I'm British. I was born in the UK, but that wasn't enough for this person. This person really wanted to extract some other information about her heritage, her African heritage. And it was really uncomfortable. In the end, it was a prolonged encounter over several minutes. And in the end, it left, all of us feeling like perhaps we didn't belong at the event. Perhaps we weren't truly welcome.
As Mandu Reid's observations show, the shocking conversation struck a nerve in many people of color, myself included, over race, belonging, and identity. The incident also raised questions about the royal family and its ability to reflect a diverse, modern Britain.
Well, what started off as a charity event at Buckingham Palace to highlight violence against women has turned into a full-blown crisis for the royal family. The palace has released a statement saying Lady Susan Hussey's comments were unacceptable and deeply regrettable. A spokesperson for Prince William has said that racism plays no part in our society, but people on social media have had a lot more to say, including Mandu Reid, who is the leader of the Women's Equality Party here in the UK. She says she witnessed the conversation firsthand, but also that she didn't want to see Lady Susan Hussey step down. She wanted her to step up. She says she wanted to see the whole royal household step up to acknowledge and respond to the institutional racism baked into its culture. And there was this tweet as well from another political and women's rights activist reading, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry told you of racism in the royal family and household, but she was vilified, abused and violated for speaking the truth. Ngozi Fulani's experience with Lady Susan Hussey wasn't isolated, one-off or bad apple at Buckingham Palace. But there were other takes too. Caroline Farrow says what SH said was wrong. However, I'm uncomfortable with the public monstering of an 83-year-old who probably didn't intend harm or offence and is from a different era. And lastly, this from the journalist Dan Wooten, who says, while it's terrible Ngozi was made to feel uncomfortable at Buckingham Palace, it is surely the duty of any journalist to point out she has previously accused Charles and Camilla of domestic violence towards Meghan, a shocking, unproven claim. Now, all of this comes just as William and Catherine go to the United States to hand out their Earthshot Environmental Award prizes. Obviously, they were hoping to focus on the environment, but everything back here is clearly overshadowing that event.
Yup, and this Buckingham Palace race row has generated quite a lot of discussion on TikTok on whether this offensive behavior is actually normal in the royal household.
I don't think I need to remind you this kind of line of questioning is rooted in racism. In a rare move, the palace issued a statement about the incident. Maybe they don't want to overshadow William and Kate arriving in the US today.
Do you think that people who hold a public position or even an honorary position, such as within inside of the royal household, do you think that they should be held to a higher esteem? Do you think that they would be treated the same if it was inside an office, maybe where you or I might work every single day? Do you think that there's different levels of accountability and that they should be treated differently?
So do you think this kind of stuff just like happens in a bubble? Like, do you think this woman just went rogue and said all this crazy stuff that is in the polar opposite to how the royal family thinks or feels? Because generally with this kind of mentality, you're surrounded by people in that echo chamber who are reflecting it back to you.
Where are you from?
London.
No. Where are you from?
Oh, Tower Hamlets.
No, where did you come from?
Royal London Hospital, Whitechapel.
Now to China, where the country has been gripped by the boldest and most widespread protests in decades. Frustrated by the government's COVID-19 policies, thousands poured onto the streets, clashing with police. People power has forced the government to relax some rules, such as quarantining at home instead of camps. But in a country where most things are choreographed and controlled, the government will introduce new rules to crack down on online dissent. From December 15th, it will be a crime to like content deemed illegal by the government. China's cyberspace regulator wants to limit the number of likes that protest videos are getting. They'll also try to ensure that people are posting under their real names. In addition to these measures, police have also started to interrogate people who attended the rallies. Much of the outcry came after the deaths of at least 10 people in an apartment fire in Urumqi in Xinjiang. Because of a lockdown, it took rescuers 3 hours to extinguish the blaze. But for Chinese people living overseas, Beijing may find it even harder to limit the reach of their voices.
The white paper protest is continuing to grow around the world. This is a footage from someone I know who went to Columbia University yesterday. The younger generation of Chinese people are tired. We're tired of the self-censorship even if we're not in mainland China anymore. We are tired we aren't allowed to express ourselves in our first language. We're tired until today we still don't know who actually passed away in a fire in Xinjiang, and we actually don't know how many people actually passed away. As many people and media already mentioned, this is the first ever political protest ever since 1989. That protest led to the massacre of students on Tiananmen Square. I'm really glad to see things are moving forward, and I think the younger generation learned to trick the police. For example, this guy, he wrote, "Please don't gather on the other side." Whenever the police come visit, he showed the side.
And while overseas Chinese can protest, it's not that easy for those back home. Take Alibaba founder Jack Ma, for example. The billionaire entrepreneur spoke out against the way the government was regulating the economy. Authorities pulled him from public view for 2 years. Now we have a better idea of where he wound up and what he's doing today. The former English teacher was one of the most prominent figures in China and a member of the Chinese Communist Party. His decision to speak out was followed by a wider squeeze on China's tech sector. In the past 2 years, he made a brief online appearance to deny claims that he was taken hostage. And according to a Financial Times report, Ma has been living in Tokyo for the past 6 months and enjoying his time with his family. What a relief. Twitter and Apple, believe it or not, are friends again. And of course, Twitter's owner and the world's richest man, Elon Musk, tweeted the news to tell the world that they'd kissed and made up. The self-proclaimed chief twit first posted this video of Apple's headquarters thanking CEO Tim Cook for taking him around. Later, he said the pair had a great conversation and that they've managed to resolve their misunderstanding. Musk said Apple had never considered to remove the social network from their App Store. But the whole incident has spurred a discussion about Apple's grip on the app market, and especially about the 30% tax on its App Store. Spotify owner Daniel Ek was quick to back Musk, especially since he's been lamenting Apple's high fees for the past 2 years now. Ek posted a 21-tweet thread about the issue. We've picked a few of them. Here he says Apple's tax was putting unfair pressure on businesses. He says countless entrepreneurs have highlighted that Apple is shameless in its bullying. The Coalition for App Fairness highlighted talk of Apple's anti-competitive App Store policies for years, and that they're pushing for Open App Markets bill to end what they call Apple's unfair behavior. U.S. Senator Marsha Blackburn says both Apple and Google have a stranglehold on companies and have used their leverage to bully businesses. She called for big tech to be reined in. And when it comes to Twitter and its new boss, trouble is never really far away. This time, the European Union has Musk in their crosshairs. The bloc has warned him it'll ban the platform if it doesn't abide by its strict content moderation rules. And as we've told you numerous of times, the Twitter CEO is planning to make the platform a safe haven for free speech. The EU's Digital Commissioner Thierry Breton tweeted this video of his Zoom meeting with Musk on Wednesday evening. He says there's huge work ahead as Twitter still has to start transparent user policies, significantly reinforce content moderation, and tackle disinformation. Breton says he's looking forward to seeing progress in all of these areas. When is Elon ever out of the headlines, eh? Well, here's Anat Alon-Beck, a business law professor at Case Western Reserve University in the U.S.
I think the EU is very concerned, and it's not the first time, and Twitter is not the only platform that the EU has been very concerned about. And that is with regards to misinformation online, with regards to hate speech. What exactly does freedom of speech cover? And again, freedom of speech and constitutional rights are things that are protected under the U.S. Constitution. The UN, in Europe, other countries have different protections and different ideas of what they consider to be hate speech or misinformation and what it is that they want to have in terms of content moderation online. Facebook or Meta had put together this governance board, and the governance board was supposed to try to tackle these. And they had experts from the US, from other countries, and these experts were supposed to devise ways to cope with this. And I think it's a way, as an example of a platform that wants to do its own content moderation before you have other governments, trying to tell them what to do.
Singer and songwriter extraordinaire Christine McVie has died at the age of 79. Her bluesy vocals made Fleetwood Mac one of the most iconic bands of its time. We end the show with a tribute to the legend. Let's take a stroll down memory lane. Bye and enjoy the music.